Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I hope you all are having a wonderful week. Now I know I'm late with this video, but my week has been quite an experience. Some moron decided it was a good idea to break into my house in broad daylight. And the funniest part, the idiot got so startled that someone was at home that he forgot to steal anything.
Sounds like he needs a career change because he's clearly underperforming in his current position.
Anyway, today I finally decided to make a video about dry vans versus reefers. Now, I like to speak from experience, and after having worked 4 months with a dry van, I feel like I have a pretty good amount of information to share. Ready? Let's go! Okay, so dry vans versus reefers. Which one is worth buying, especially in this market?
None of them. Invest into yourself, take a 2-year vacation while this market figures out what the hell it is doing.
Anyway, let's start with the current market trends. Well, it's the end of April, which means it's almost produce season. But unfortunately, because of Mother Nature and her vindictive soul, the weather has been acting up and therefore produce is delayed. But nevertheless, when produce season rolls around, reefers become the trailer of choice because of their refrigeration capabilities. I can already see the market shifting in our beautiful state of California. Summers in California are awesome, and this is primarily because of how much money you can earn if you are in the trucking industry.
Summers in California are comparable to hell. Oh, wait, no, that's year-round.
Freight volumes are on the rise, which means tighter truck capacity. And as I always say, when there are a ton of loads on the market and not enough trucks to transport those loads, the rates start climbing up. But what about dry vans? Well, let me put it this way. A few days ago, I booked my first ever load for $1.33 per mile out of Salt Lake City, Utah. In the 3 years that I have been in this industry, this is the worst rate I have ever got. And the worst part, this was after negotiations because most of the loads posted out of Salt Lake City, Utah were less than $1 per mile. But let's compare apples to apples. California is becoming pretty good for dry vans as well, and that is all due to truck capacity. There are just not enough trucks to cover the amount of loads coming out of California. Now, all the reefers are rushing towards the produce loads, and so are the dry vans for things like dried produce. So that means that there are just not enough dry vans to cover regular boring loads like paper, pallets, and so on. And of course, if there is a shortage of vans wanting to take those boring loads, that means that those shippers will start increasing their rates in order to entice dry vans to take those loads. Now let's talk about the market as a whole. Reefer rates on average are quite a bit higher than the dry van rates, and the logic is pretty simple. Number one, food is always in demand and reefers are the primary trailer used to transport it. Number two, reefer freight is often perishable and has a decreased shelf life. That means if that fresh chicken load doesn't go out today, tomorrow it will have to be discarded. And of course, when time is of the essence, negotiations become that much easier. Now, the same cannot be said for dry vans, unfortunately. A load of paper will not go bad if it doesn't get shipped out today, tomorrow, or a year from now.
Tell the COVID toilet paper hoarders that paper can be shipped out in a year.
So brokers and shippers don't feel that time pressure when it comes to loads that go on a dry van. So they will often wait in order to transport that load at the cheapest price possible. To top it all off, there are so many dry vans out in the market that there are often more trucks than there are loads. Let me show you the market map. Okay guys, so this is the market map that I often reference when I'm looking for a place to book a load to. So this is for the dry van in the prior business day. As you can see, pretty much everything is blue on the West Coast except for California right here. And it gets more red when you go to the East Coast, especially Florida. Now, what do these colors mean? Well, the bluer an area is, it means there are more trucks than there are loads, so looser capacity. When it's dark red, it means that there are way more loads than trucks, which means tighter capacity. Now, just to compare apples to apples, let's take a look at reefers. This is what the Reefer map looks like. It's not a whole lot better, but there's still more market areas that are going towards the orangey red hues, which means that these are places where the rates will be higher. You can see California is one of those places because there's a ton of produce coming out of California pretty much all the time, but especially in the summer. We're now waiting for Washington to get warmer so those apples and cherries also start making their way into the market. But this is what the market map looks like. Again, this is the Reefer and here is the dry van. Now let's talk about loading and unloading times. On average, I have found that reefers get loaded or unloaded within about 3 hours, sometimes more, and if you're lucky, sometimes less. With dry vans, the average is about 1 hour. But the best part is that dry vans will often deliver to smaller facilities, and those facilities are very likely to unload you early. And if you deliver the load early, you can get another extra load. For reefers, on the other hand, appointments are often strictly enforced, and the possibility of delivering early is often not an option. Now let's talk about some real numbers, and for that, we're gonna go to the board. All right, so let's talk about some numbers. Now, what I did here is we have our dry van, which is a 2016 utility dry van. Then we have a Reefer, which is a 2020 Wabash Arctic Light. Now, these numbers are from January 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2022. I'm not including anything before January 1st or after March 31st. And these are all numbers for solo drivers. There are no teams here. So the purchase price of the dry van, a 2016 model that we purchased in 2021, was $43,700. Now let's compare this to the $76,500 that we paid for the Reefer, which we bought in 2019, but this was a completely new model, right? And this was during the time where the market was not crazy. Anyway, now let's look at the fuel cost. Now, what I am talking about when I say fuel cost, I mean the trailer fuel cost. Now, something a lot of people don't consider is the fact that a Reefer has a refrigeration unit which runs on diesel, so there is a fuel cost associated with it. So of course, with a dry van, there is no fuel cost, $0. With a Reefer, from what I calculated, the average per month cost for the Reefer fuel is $485.95 per month. Now let's look at maintenance. Now these are again real numbers and I just divided them by 3 months. And this is just trailer maintenance in general. It can be tire changes. It can be things like repairs of the actual unit itself. So for a dry van, based on our real numbers, the average cost per month for maintenance was $177.93 per month for the dry van. For the Reefer, it was $786.08 per month to maintain the Reefer. Now, finally, let's look at the gross income, which is where I even was kind of shocked. The gross income, and this is not monthly, this is during those 3 months from January 1st to March 31st, just how much each of these trailers made. The dry van made $85,764 in 3 months. The Reefer made $110,710 in those 3 months. So quite a difference there in the gross income. So there you have it. You will have to make a decision on your own. There are pros and cons to each type of trailer, but unfortunately, as I'm looking at the numbers, I am realizing that the dry van is kind of underperforming, pretty much like the guy who broke into my house. Maybe we need to fire the dry van. I will be honest, with the market being as crappy as it is, I sometimes feel like I want to take our dry van and drive it off a cliff. But if the market follows its usual pattern, then produce season will increase those rates. But anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful and I'll see you guys in the next one.